Hello, everyone. My name is Shama. I am the program director here at Girls and Geese. I am back for our very first podcast of 2026 with an outstanding, phenomenal legend in the making, Kendall Reusing. If you don't know who she is, I don't think she needs much of an intro because at this point, I think everybody knows who you are. You're so active out there commentating, supporting the community, with your program, with your schools. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I think the last time that I was around Girls and Geese, my mom and my sister and I did an episode together, right? So this is maybe the first one I've done solo, or at least in the last few years, might be the first solo one ever. And I'm really happy to be here, and you're so sweet. So I just love what you guys do, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Oh, I love chatting with you. I think the very first thing we did was one of our very first podcasts we started 5 years ago, and the panel discussion. And I just remember you were a lot younger then, and I was like, wow, who is this young
Yeah.
lady? Like, she's so articulate. You were so clear, and I was like, I can't wait to see where you go. And it's been really amazing for me to watch your journey and watch your success, because you are literally taking it to a whole nother level and showing women and young girls exactly where we can have a place in this.
Mm.
I love that because you're opening new doors, whether you realize it or not, for women to step into, and women are stepping into it behind you, which is really cool.
Mm. Man, that's cool, and I appreciate you saying that so much. It means a lot because I don't know if I really think about that very often. Like for example, with JJA, my coaching program, Jiu-Jitsu Accelerator, I've had now some women say to me like, "Oh wow, I didn't know this was possible for women to, provide these kind of services and offers to people. I didn't know it was possible to make money in a way that wasn't related to competing or brand deals. I didn't know it was possible to, build a program that, yes, is about jiu-jitsu, but is also about so much more than that, and mindset and empowerment and stepping into your greatest gifts and figuring out how to tap into that and being your own best coach on and off the mats in nutrition, strength and conditioning, mindset, jiu-jitsu." And so I've started to have some of these conversations, but for the most part, it's been me in my bubble with the people that I bring on to help me and help coach some of these clients that I have. So I don't think about it really that often just because for me it seems really normal. But I will say that this past year, or in January now, but in August when we were at Jiu-Jitsu Con in Vegas, it was the first year that I did a booth, and it was my mom's idea actually to do the booth. So we did this Jiu-Jitsu Con booth for JJA. So it was like Jiu-Jitsu Accelerator and Kendall Reusing had this booth. And that was eye-opening because so many people, especially young girls and women, came up and they were like, "Dude, this is so cool. Like, what do you do? Tell me more about this." I didn't know that there could be like a booth at Jiu-Jitsu Con that was like pink and fuzzy and fun and warm and exciting. Like everything you look around in Jiu-Jitsu and everything's black and white. Like that's all we have. So I had a lot of, like actually Homalu's daughters, it was really cute because Homalu's brought his girls over. He has two daughters. They are, oh gosh, maybe like 9 and 11, around that age. And that's kind of where my sister and I are our separation in age. And we were both doing jiu-jitsu at that time. So it was a lot of, really good nostalgia there. And they were there, they were having fun. I had them do these little podcast questions with me because we filmed the podcast, my podcast, Get a Grip. We did like live recordings there. They were on it. And that we gave them shirts. And I just remember Hamalu wrote me after and he said the sweetest like reflection. He was like, "Man, I'm so grateful that like it's so cool to see my young girls have like women to look up to that they actually want to emulate instead of like just be tough." It's like, no, you can be both. Like you can be super tough and you can be as feminine as girly as you want. And so that was really rewarding coming from him because of his experience and his expertise in the sport. And also knowing that like, his girls are the most important thing in the world to him. So yeah, I really appreciate the reflection because it's something at this age, I'm 28 now. I think I'm starting to think about more and more as my career shifts and changes. So,
No, it's amazing. Like, I'm closer to your mom's age, in her generation in women in jujitsu.
mhm.
So it's really cool because it's like there were these opportunities were things that we just dreamed of, and people and
Right.
it was just kind of like, ha ha ha, that's cute. Yeah, you guys are gonna have a place at the table someday.
Yeah. No, it's totally that. Like my mom, a lot of my expansion in jujitsu outside of just being a competitor or a school owner and a teacher, because I'm all of those things, was really encouraged by her. And she would say things like, it wasn't like she made the decisions and made me do anything, but it was a really like a big permission slip and like very empowering to be like, look, you can create anything you want in this arena. Like you have an opportunity that other people like we didn't used to be able to do this kind of stuff, but also because I worked really hard to build a personal brand. I've consistently created content online every single day pretty much since I was 14. So, and shared very vulnerably and been really open and connected with people and genuinely been interested in people and in the DMs and talking to other folks and building relationships. And so, like, with that, and then that coming together with the competitive success, things really grew. And so she would encourage me to like try different things, and it's okay if you have an idea that doesn't work, like just keep going and develop whatever you want. And JJA was interesting because that's really been the crux of my financial success in jiu-jitsu, more so than competing, more so than brand deals, more so than sponsorships. And it's a service that I really love and believe in that's really rewarding. And that wasn't being done in jujitsu before. So it was like this kind of scary, like, okay, you look at fitness, you look at life coaching, you look at all sorts of these things that are available on social media and you see it a lot. But in jujitsu, like, how do you do that? Because how do you teach jujitsu online? How do you? So then during COVID, if you remember, like, a lot of the athletes were offering like match study. And so they would say, hey, you can book a private with me and do match study online on Zoom. And so people started getting creative and doing things. And then in 2021, JJA was born. And I was like, I feel like there's an opportunity to do more than just look at people's jujitsu technique. And then what happened was like, I was like, well, what did I need as a blue and purple belt? And then I just kind of built what I learned over all those years that was what I needed. And so now I mentor people in jujitsu, strength and conditioning, mindset, and nutrition, and help them become their own best coach so that they don't need to like hire a million experts or just train harder forever or whatever. So, but back to your point though, my mom has been a big encourager in that area because not for the sake of like just having a chip on your shoulder, like, oh, women gotta have a place and they never have, and what, like, not just that, but just in general, jujitsu is pretty new as a field of business development. And so
Mhm.
why not just try stuff and see what works? And whether you're male or female or a frog, whatever you are, I don't know, like whatever you are, like just try stuff and see what the market will take. And that's kind of just been my experiment.
Absolutely. It's the Wild West, and it's been the Wild West for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when I first started building the Girls and Geese organization, we were just like a very grassroots group of women in Texas that wanted to train, and there was no model.
Yeah.
There was only one other group in women's jujitsu, which is Sweaty Betty's, who I'm best friends with the
Yeah.
co-founder, and that was it back then. Like there was really no other group like that. So
Yeah.
it I know where you're coming from, because when you're trying to build something and you don't have a a map
Yeah.
to do it,
Yeah.
and you have to invent that map and you have to invent that path, it's a totally different ball game. But what
Yeah.
is really cool is that you're going to make it easier for the girls that are coming behind you. They don't have to work out. Oops, sorry, hold on. They don't have to like go through the struggles that you did because you did it, which is
Mm.
cool. And that's a cycle, which is awesome. So I commend what you're doing, is the long and short of what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's funny, I don't know if you felt this way when starting Girls and Geese, but looking back on it, it's also kind of liberating not having something to follow because it purely was made up of what was in my heart. So there wasn't something I was trying to be like, really. I mean, I saw what was going on in fitness and different industries, but it was really like what do I want to talk about? What do I genuinely feel valuable like helping people with? Like I can really make a change and also stay, in the confines of like where I'm actually an expert too, because like, for example, jujitsu is one pillar of JJA, and I would never claim to be like the most technical person on the planet, the jujitsu encyclopedia, like there are people who do that and that's all they do. And I bring in experts into my program to help people with that. And so really like it's also liberating, I think, to not have something that you have to follow. And so that's what I would say to like any girls or women that are, or anyone in general that's listening, that is like, oh, I have this thing that I want to start, or they're feeling inspired by seeing other women do it. It's like, oh, amazing. Like take that inspiration, take the permission slip 100%, but feel free to make it your own, because odds are like if there's something that you love and desire more of in your community, there probably are other people that want that too. So if you have to be the first one to make it, just make it. And also, like, not every idea works, and that's also okay. Like, you will learn no matter how it goes, you'll learn along the way, and then you can make something else or something new. That's the thing about like personal branding or creative projects, in my opinion, is that it's a way of life. So it's like for me, I genuinely feel like whether it's JJA or because eventually I'll probably retire it and probably create something else, because I change as a person. It was born in 2021. I'm a very different, I've evolved the program since then, but probably at some point, it will retire and I'll create something else. But the permission and the beauty and the freedom in a personal brand or having creative projects is that it can change with you, and we're not terminally unique. So no matter what I create at any given time, there are people that it will probably speak to as long as I'm being honest and authentic. So yeah, make stuff your own, like get inspiration, but don't be afraid to do something that's really different than what you're already seeing, because odds are like people will flock to it. They're just gonna be the right people for that. And like the idea of magnetism and repelling too, like I believe like if you don't repel anybody, you don't magnetize anybody either, because then you're just kind of neutral. Like you want to cause a reaction in your customer, your client, your audience, whatever. So there are people who think what I do is ridiculous. And God love them, and that's a good thing, because that means that there are people who are loving it and are obsessed with it, and those are my people, and they find me because it causes some sort of reaction in the psyche. So anyway, yeah.
No, it's 100%. Like, I know what you're talking about. Like, because when I tell, we have ambassadors that run these our events all over the country, and I tell them, if we're in the business of anything, we're in that business of selling that feeling that you get from that connectedness. That's everybody
Mhm.
together. It's that feeling, is so important.
Yeah,
So
you guys do such a good job at fostering that too. Like, if, yeah, Girls and Geese events, they have such a special energy to it. So you guys have definitely mastered that. You can feel that when you're there.
I love that. I mean, for me, I became who I am now because of it. Like,
Mm,
became my leadership program. And that's what I'm curious about you is like, I had to learn on my feet through trial and failure and lots of failure and
yeah.
lots of learning seems to be my pattern. But
Yeah.
I'm curious for you, like, how have you been able to build your leadership skills to get to the point now where you're running something like this? What tools have helped you?
Mm, man, that's such a beautiful question. I mean, honestly, it's just doing it. Like, not to be too Nike about it, but it's just doing it, because I think creative projects, like we just meet them where we are. So the first evolution of JJA was great, but it's much different now. Like, I think the leadership is developed through action. So it is just the doing it and going for it. And if you're curious, if you stay curious about like the most important things of a creative project, which I would, you could define those. I'm sure the list could be longer, but like number one is like the client or the customer experience. Um, definitely somewhere in that list is how connected and in integrity I feel to the work. There's also, maybe the greater impact that it's having on people's lives who are watching or who are in those clients' lives. Because, for example, like, I'd have someone go through the program and they would tell me, like, oh, my relationship with my significant other is getting better, or I got a raise at work, or my boss is really happy with my performance, or my kids seem like they enjoy being around me more. And that's really, really humbling and incredible, like to hear as someone. So those would be the signs that I would take, and I would ask them, like, okay, well, where do you feel that this contribution, like, what's contributing to that the most? And so, like, the word curiosity really sticks out to me. So I think like action and curiosity. If you're consistently taking action and then you're being really curious about what's going on, it's hard to not improve because then you're applying. So I would say, like, I'd get really curious with my clients after every round. I would ask them about, what was most meaningful for them, or um, and then a lot of the feedback that I get often is the mindset pillar in the four is the biggest for people, and that's not a huge surprise, right? So it's like, okay, great. What about the mindset work was most impactful? I was talking to a client yesterday who we do this process called a personal MVP process, and we kind of plan out the quarter and we look at the 3 months ahead, and we really get clear about like who they want to be, how they want to feel, because who we are is just who we're being on a daily basis. It's not some list of traits, right? It's like, who am I being today? And that's who I am right now, not what I won last month, or not, what title I have at work or whatever. So who am I being today? And so we get really clear on that. And she was giving me this reflection of like, she was feeling like she developed a much stronger sense of trust with herself because when she look and confidence because when she would look at that paper, and this is a couple months after, she goes, wow, I've been being this person. So number one, I can trust myself because when I put something down on paper, I'm following through, I'm being that person. And then two, like, would I be proud of this person? And then you look at it objectively and you're like, man, I am really proud of this person. So that's like a very, very simple curiosity practice on my end that tells me a lot of information about this exercise I'm having someone doing. And so then, like, that elevates my leadership skills. So, again, I think it's action, it's curiosity, and then also continuing to be a student. You hear this all the time, but like, I'm continuing to try to educate myself in other areas, seeking mentorship, seeking guidance, strengthening my faith, like getting to know myself better, and having, a lot of personal responsibility and a lot of honesty. I think, it's funny, there's a lot of great books and podcasts and resources out there. I actually haven't read the Jocko's. I work with the company Jocko Fuel as a on the athlete side for their nutrition supplements. But Jocko wrote this book about leadership. I actually forget the name, which is kind of funny, but it's like the whole concept, if you read the Cliff Notes or you talk to people who have read it, is like all responsibility comes down to me. So like nobody on my team is at fault. Like it's always on me. Like if as the leader, right? It's always on me. And that's not like for me, the way I interpret that, it's not like a massive blame game, like, oh, I'm so bad. It's just, oh, I accept it, like this is the thing that I'm leading, and so it comes back to me. So with clients, with people that are on my team, with coaching, with the jiu-jitsu schools that we have, with my family, like everything comes down to who's at the top. And so I think when you have that firm, I would say commitment, to strong leadership, and then you stay really curious about your product and your people and the experience you're having, and then you stay in constant action and you're always doing stuff that stretches you, that scares you a little bit, that's uncomfortable, it's hard to not grow. So that's in my experience anyway. Just going for it.
And this is something that I've wrestled with. I've been doing Girls and Geese now for 16 years. And like, do you ever feel the pressure of the responsibility of everything that you're doing? Like so many people rely on you. So many like you're talking about his book, right? It all goes back to you, but it's true.
Yeah.
When you are running some, it is all goes back because in the end, it's you standing there if it all
Yeah.
falls apart, right?
Right.
And
Right. Right. Yeah.
so how do you feel that? And if so, how do you work through that? How do you work around that, or how do you use that, or how do you recognize that, or do you recognize that? Is that something that you feel?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that any business owner has that experience, especially if they're, I would say, responsible and have strong integrity and not wanting to point the finger, as tempting as it is. Like, obviously, let's be honest about that. Like, there are times where there's something that, like, maybe an employee does that's inappropriate or whatever. And it's like, it's not the blame, it's not blame. It's responsibility to handle the things that come our way. It's not like, oh, it's my fault that that happened. It's that it's on me to take the next steps and sort this out and not to just revert to pointing the finger and running away.
Yeah.
So really, like, owning a business or running an operation is really constant self-reflection and constant, like, being able to face myself in the mirror and say, like, am I proud of how I'm stepping up to the plate right now for the people that rely on me? And the larger your business grows, it's not just, when you start out in something, maybe it's just you and your clients, but then as you're growing a team, that grows very quickly, and more people rely on you to feed their families, to be quite frank. So it gets it's a lot. But I would say, I'm in a funny place right now of I've gone through many seasons of, like, just going for it and growing, 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 growing. But I'm actually at the point, I mentioned, like, I'm 28, I'm getting married this year, I'm looking at my competitive career as far as, like, well, how long am I going to be doing that? Are kids going to enter the equation? Like, these are the sort of things, like, so many women around this age are starting to consider, right? It's like a very, it's the tale as old as time. And so as this is happening, I actually am starting to ask more of those questions, like, how many people do I want to be responsible for? Like, how much of this is still my priority? And it's a hard question to ask, because if you had asked me that before, I may have just said, something that sounded like a little bit more David Goggins-ish, like, well, you just do it, you just get up and you handle it, and you have a strong support system and you keep your non-negotiables, and all that's still true, like, I move my body every day, I, meditate every morning, I have my practices, my prayer, my meditation, journaling, I like, continuing to educate myself, like, strong support system, I believe in therapy, like, all of these sorts of things that are true. But I think now the next evolution and I will say, like, I wouldn't change anything. I think going through that version of it for years of, like, you just do it no matter what, I'm incredibly, like, proud and grateful that I had the opportunity to do that, because it's made me who I am, and I wouldn't change it at all. But now it's more of, like, okay, well, what may I allow myself to potentially enter a new chapter? And if so, what does that look like? Does that mean taking some things off of my plate? Does that mean making space for something that is new? Like, it's so funny, but literally this week, as we're having this conversation, I am handing off some of my responsibilities in the jiu-jitsu schools to some of our employees and kind of shifting things around. And I'm adding in other stuff, like, I'm starting to take horseback riding lessons this week. Like, that's currently where we're at today, first week of January. So I think, it's also getting to know yourself better and better. It sounds really glamorous or, like, really self-actualized or whatever, but really it's kind of just an arduous and can be somewhat painful process of, like, pruning, like, what needs to be let go to make space for something new. And it's easy when you know what that new thing is. You close down a project to open something new you're excited about. I'm kind of in that space where I don't know exactly what's next, but I know that some space needs to be created in order for it to start to come up to the surface, because I can feel that in me. So that's where I'm at right now, and it's been a big transition. Yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like you and I and many others, we're all kind of going through this shift. Like, we talked
Mm.
about New Year, there's a whole new shift in, like,
Thank God we're out of the year of the snake. Oh my God. We've been shedding 2025. I've been shedding some skin, baby. That's for sure.
I am done carrying the dead weight of
Yes.
ready to move forward. But it's like for me, I've done girls and geese for 16 years now, and, like,
Wild.
I I am a farm girl. Like, I love farming, and I moved back home during the pandemic, and then I got sick
Yeah.
now with cancer, and now it's like I live on a farm. I like wake up, I feed chickens and ducks,
No.
and I'm in that new chapter phase too. Like, and I
Mhm.
never thought like jujitsu would be as small of a part of my life as it has become. But
Right.
I think the moral of it is like you just got to embrace it, and we change and we grow. And if you're not changing and growing, then how boring, you know? Like
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah. You
I
know,
don't.
it's true. I have a girlfriend. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just like
Clicked a little.
I'm kind of like you. I'm curious. I've been on this quest of self discovery for a very long time, you know, and it's always growing and changing. You're always learning new things about yourself.
Uh, yeah, it's so true. I have a girlfriend, I was thinking as you're talking about embracing change. She said one time I think she responded to something on Threads, like on social. I had said something like women in your, 30s and 40s, like what would you tell young women in their mid to late 20s, right? Like advice. And one of the things she dropped in there was like, I pick up new habits and obsessions like every couple years. And this woman, she's amazing. She is a jiu-jitsu girl, but she's very well known in the tech. Her handle is iJustine, and she's very well known in the tech space. Obviously, Apple, all of that stuff. I couldn't even do it justice, like talking about what she does. But she's one of the OG like YouTubers around that kind of content, and her platforms are insanely huge. And she does amazing and travels around the world constantly making amazing content, and she's great. But what's interesting to me about her is like when she said that, I was like, oh, you know what? I actually do see that in you. Like you're obsessed with jujitsu, but she's been like on the scuba diving kick for the last couple years, and she's like posting about that. And then, she recently got obsessed with Japan and has been there twice and is posting all of these things about, her trip to Japan and really diving into the culture there. And so when she said it that way, like, I think when you are, use whatever words like high achieving or you have really big goals or whatever, it's really easy to get locked into like, I'm going to be obsessed with this thing and I'm going to be the best at it. But it's almost like, to what end? Like, where does that end? Like, is there an opportunity for your life to be even bigger than that? And when is enough enough? And with competition, we see so many people and also to be fair, like it's probably authentic for quite a few people to just compete forever, and that is the thing that brings them the most joy and happiness. So it's not to knock on anybody else's, huh?
Megaton, Megaton, he's been competing. Like he's
There
like
you go. I doubt he's sitting around feeling like, oh, I wish I could only do this other thing. Like clearly he's where he wants to be, right? But I also think so many people that have that kind of behavior, I don't know if they're allowing themselves to ask the question of like, is there something else? Could I be? Because, well, it's hard to start over. It's hard to not like if I go to compete, I know that there's a high that I can get. If I go, because I have a certain level of accomplishment in it at this point and I have proof of concept, if I go just use horseback riding, because that's what I'm gonna do, and I say, okay, well, I want to jump in shows. Like I don't have any proof of concept if I can do that. Like, so it's kind of hard to say, like, am I gonna give up the known for the unknown? Not that I even want to jump in horse shows, but like whatever it would may be, or maybe it's just like maybe, and I say just parenting, the most important job on the planet, right? Like maybe it's parenting. Maybe it's like people go into the phase of like, I want to be the best, most present, incredible mom I can be. And they have this feeling. And of course, like these are things I've thought about of like, well, am I going to feel not relevant in my field? Am I going to feel, all of these things? And the answer is, in my opinion, um, probably yes and. I may have those things and I'm going to have so much more by allowing myself to expand and step into something new. So Justine is funny to me because she may struggle with this stuff, but it doesn't show. To me, she's like jumping from thing to thing, enjoying and following like her bliss and her desires. And she's built a career that allows her to do that. So I think that the possibilities are really endless. It's that kind of going back to that idea of the freedom of not having to follow another mold is like you can make it your own. We're so used to seeing like you have one career and you do it forever and you retire when you're 60 and then you have your 401(k). But it's like that's really not the only way of doing things. And for some people, it probably is the most fulfilling, best option. But for others, it may not, and it may not be. And for Megaton, it may be the best thing to compete in jiu-jitsu forever. And for other people, you may wonder, like, if you gave yourself the opportunity to have a different wish or desire, what might that be like? You might lose some, what you probably will lose something, but you might gain much more. Anytime we make a decision, by nature of what a decision is, we lose something and then something else is gained. Like no matter what it is, I decide to go on a run or not go on a run. I gain something and I lose being able to sit in the comfort of my home, and vice versa. So I've just been thinking about that so much lately. And my dad used to say when I was growing up, because my parents were very into like, I mean, manifestation and goals and personal development, all that kind of stuff. My dad would say, like, you can be anything you want to be in the world, but you can't be everything at the same time. And that is so good for someone like us, right? Because it's like, what if you checked the box of whatever said project is and you just allowed yourself to move on to something new because you might not be able to do both things at the same time. So, yeah, and that's coming from the girl that's always trying to do a million things at once and has been somewhat successful doing that. And so, but there's a turning point to everything is my point. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I love about you is you are such a wise soul, like so wise for your years. Like,
Sometimes I manage to sound that way. Other times I still, have my kicking and screaming temper tantrums and all of the human experience that comes along with just being on Earth. So, yeah, but sometimes I talk about my parents. I've had great parents, great
yeah.
mentors, great coaches and teachers and friends and partners and just like my sister, for example, she's my best friend. She's one of the wisest people I've ever met. She's 2.5 years younger than I am, and she is such an anchor in my life. So I think like another thing my parents used to say growing up is like, and this is a common thing, but you're the sum of the five people that you spend the most time with. Like when you asked a question earlier about leadership, I think that's something too, like audit your not necessarily your friend group, but like who you're spending the majority of your hours with, because that will elevate or dip you down as well. And it's seductive, like if you're slipping back too, because it happens slowly. You don't see it all at once. But the same thing, like don't underestimate how powerful it can be too, because it happens slowly, not all at once. But you may look back in a year and say, "Whoa, like being around these people really impacted me for the better and made a big difference." And with whether it's romantic relationships, friendships, the people you work with, the people you're training with, all of that sort of stuff. My fiance Chris, um, he when he talks about dating, because people will ask like, oh, I'm just stuck in this rut of dating or whatever, and they ask how we met, and the story can be a longer version, but the short version is through mutual friends. And so we always tell people like, elevate your top five friends. Like elevate your top five friends, and you'll probably have a higher chance of meeting someone that you really love and connect with, because you're really upping your chances of being around people that you like and respect. So, and want to be more like. I want to be around people I want to be more like. And so when Chris and I met through mutual friends that we love and respect, it was kind of like we were already so similar. I mean, we have a lot of differences, but we were already in that same mindset. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's true. Like attracts like, right? Like you have to surround. Well, it was amazing talking to you. I could talk to you forever. I literally like you and I like I can see like you're an amazing person just on your own, but you're a product of two amazing parents and a family that really invested in like letting you grow and flourish into who you are and support
Yeah.
that. So I love seeing that. Like you're the future like of like you're the kids now that are growing up and becoming adults, and it's really like amazing being a little bit older and watching this and going, wow, it's going to be in good hands. So when I'm too
Oh.
old and I'm like Meg or above, okay, like,
You've done your duties. You've done your duties. You for sure like have really changed the scope of jujitsu in so many ways, not just in women's jujitsu alone, because I think like when anything changes in an environment, it affects the other organisms in the environment too. And so Girls and Geese and what you've accomplished and just who you are as a person has really impacted things so beautifully. And I'm so grateful for all that. I know like, for people who see it now or participate in now, it's really shiny and fun and exciting to go to an open mat of 50 women. It wasn't always that easy to put that together. And it was a lot of like painstaking, consistent work and effort, and probably so many times where, things didn't go as planned, no one showed up, didn't work out, all these sorts of things that happen when you're building something new that doesn't really have like a model, like you said. And now you guys have become the model, and it's really beautiful. So congrats on all your hard work. You definitely have played a part in any of like the generations coming up. You've impacted men or women. And I'm excited to see as things develop. Like we've got so many
Yeah.
bright, bright young minds and powerful people stepping into the spotlight and also doing the hard work behind the scenes. And it's special to watch.
Absolutely. And like I said, I mean, it's just the opportunities that women, like just talking women's jujitsu, the opportunities that are there, like we would dream it, like they would laugh in our face. Like I
Yeah,
like to use
it's
that
true.
is like I was like that lone surfer for a long time going, come on guys, women's jujitsu is gonna be huge. You have no
Yeah.
idea. It's gonna, oh yeah, right, whatever it is
Uh-huh.
that can be. And now everybody's riding that wave,
Yep.
and good for it. Finally, like awesome. And to know, like I said, to know that women like yourself that grew up in jujitsu the way you did have that
Mhm.
background and that perspective, like, and you're creating a whole nother path. You're creating like how many other girls are going to be like, I like who I want to be a commentator. I want to own an
Yeah.
academy. I want to like run my own business. These
Yeah.
were not things that existed at all.
Right, right. It's true. It's true.
So
So thank you. That's a very sweet reflection. And I've had a lot of support along the way and people helping open doors for me. So I'm super grateful. And yeah, it's fun to reflect on the journey.
it,
It's had a lot of chapters.
but it showed all it, like it's like the moms in jujitsu class, like, right, that sit on the
Yeah,
line. It only takes one woman in that class for the
yeah,
moms to go, well, maybe I can do it. It's the same thing. It's the same thing,
yeah.
but on a whole broad spectrum. But like you
Mm,
said, it really does shape the whole culture of jujitsu, and it has completely because
mhm.
it. I mean, I probably like your mom, like I could hang with the guys. I could put
Yeah,
up with it. I could deal with it because I like to I'm kind of a tomboy most of the time,
yeah.
and like I grew up that way, but
Hmm.
it had to change in order for all women to be
Yeah.
to feel comfortable because it wasn't in a lot of situations. So it's really amazing. I love being a part of this, and it has been my purpose and my passion, and
Mm.
so happy that the torch is being passed to amazing people like you. So thank you
Aw,
for doing what you
thank
do,
you.
and I see that fire in you. So keep letting that burn. You
Mm.
can have it all.
Oh, thank you.
You can, and
So
and
sweet.
and my generation, we thought, oh, you can't have kids. Like if you have kids, your career's over, right?
Right, right,
How many women have changed that to where you can have it all? You just got to
right.
figure out how to make it work. And you're
Yeah.
smart and you're resourceful, so I have faith in you. You can do it. Anything you.
Thank you. You're such a sweetie. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this combo. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you for sharing some of your insight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. Can't wait till next time. And like, I really can't wait to see where the next 5 years take you because
Mhm.
every 5 years has been amazing for you. So, this next chapter you're entering into is exciting. And congratulations as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Shama. Thanks everybody for tuning in too. Good to see not good to see everyone. Good to see you. And hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
All right. Thank you. Take care.